For the longest time now, Marvel has steadily begun to sink in the eyes of fans around the world, as it delves further into the abyss of political agendas and shifting narratives that only a few narcissistic arseholes concern themselves with. And rightfully, much of the fanbase that Marvel has collected over the previous 10 years are starting to jump ship and swim as far away as possible, recognising that the quality isn't what it used to be.
Well, no shit.
Even fleeing for the island of a failing DCU just to find some semblance of joy and solace once again in the magical realm of comic book superheroes, even if it comes from the likes of Black Adam and a crumbling return for Shazam. Fuck me, even the investors and stockholders have had enough, but certain powers that be with these large corporations are continually digging their feet in the sand and pretending that they aren't having record-breaking losses quarter by quarter, and this is in fact what people want.
You fucking idiot!
But the people are speaking up, my friend, and pushing back, longing for the time when entertainment was the name of the game and pray that someday Marvel will find its way back home. Back to when the MCU received almost universal praise for a lot of its content, specifically in Phase 3, where even if it wasn't perfect, you could still find something to revel in. And you know why these projects were met with such reverence? It was because they prioritised the journeys of all involved, made genuinely creative and insightful entries that celebrated the characters and respected the lore that came before them, and any political aspects that were incorporated were central to the narrative and an in-universe problem, not a reflection of modern society and the gripes of those writing them. Take note, She-Hulk. Now, we're in an age of Marvel where priorities have shifted and not for the better, where it feels like a generational shift has occurred behind the scenes, where people are more concerned with hiring talentless hacks that tick certain boxes and only stifle the air around them, rather than taking the breath away of audiences around the world that are watching what they create. And never has this feeling been felt more than in the past several entries of primarily Disney Plus MCU content like Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk, but also Quantumania, Love and Thunder, Multiverse of Madness, Eternal, Shang-Chi, and even Black Widow, all containing genuine issues of bloated casts, unrefined storytelling, inconsistent writing, excessive to borderline exhausting fruitless comedy, and ultimately a series of events with unfulfilling plots, characters devoid of any legitimate intrigue and sincerity, and essentially all running on autopilot with the same meandering formulas. Now we're getting reports that Marvel's plans have shuffled so much that their original schedule, announced only back in September of last year, essentially mean nothing, as the setbacks mean we're now receiving 2 shows and 3 movies in 2023, when the original lineup was slated to feature another 4 Disney shows and possibly 1 other movie.
Good job.
What's the reason for this, you might ask, my dear friend? Well, aside from underlining what I've just pointed out, the other reasons for such a drastic change has been due to adverse pushback and intense reshoots needed due to poor test screenings, and apparently they want to refocus their attention and refine their productions to better meet audience expectations. Because that's worked. And now the frustrating aspect to all this is where we've had valid criticisms and complaints for so long, we're being faced with a new challenge. And that is Marvel's latest production set to arrive in June, a Winter Soldier-esque spy espionage thriller series titled Secret Invasion. A show that draws inspiration from the Brian Michael Bendis series of comics looking at the world where society has been infiltrated by a species of shapeshifters known as the Skrulls, who go on to invade every level of life, including our intrepid heroes. A reminder that in the MCU's version of events, the Skrulls are a group of refugees seeking sanctuary from a war against the Kree, as seen in the delight that was Captain Marvel. Now, they're back in their own titled series, becoming embroiled in a story seemingly being positioned as Nick Fury / Samuel L. Jackson's send-off from the MCU, whilst attempting to follow up on a forgettable plot thread set up back in the Dame of Disaster's first outing, then continue into Spider-Man Far From Home, and most recently in WandaVision. Don't worry, I forgot about those as well. And now the question must be asked, is there hype and does it deserve our attention? In my opinion, no and yes, respectively. Just based solely on what we see here, the language used, the cinematic direction, the gritty, brooding and morbid atmosphere, accompanied with a steady cast of actors and actresses who have all had credits to their names and have previously participated in equally dramatic productions that get you hooked from the outset, makes me believe that we could be bearing witness to the MCU's answer to Star Wars Andor. Another Disney-era series that prioritizes all the right factors of a spy thriller, set in space, and entices you to delve further into this political landscape of an unbalanced galaxy. This series seemingly wants to do just that, but on a planetary level, and hopefully with a more tailored focus, we could see the scales start to reset on the MCU. Cause I'm an optimistic fucker. Something they vitally need right now, by the way, given the recent shortcomings from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and all the remaining goodwill from fans being placed on the shoulders of James Gunn, to provide us with one last thrilling escapade with the galaxy's gifted assortment of broken biscuits. This will be the first Disney Plus production to arrive for Phase 5, so it has a lot to prove, and I won't pretend to look at the aesthetically pleasing appearance of it as a surefire guarantee that they've changed their ways, but as of right now, it carries promise for, at the very least, something refreshing, with a more intense and dedicated focus and serious undertone that could shake the very fabric of what we've understood things to be within this universe for so long. The trailer alone presents a nuanced, intriguing and paced affair that could create a cognitive dissonance for those watching after being force-fed the same drivel for so many years. This show, in my mind at least, has the potential to become an overlooked gem that could receive the same degree of reception that Andor did, where you have an intelligently written and competently acted show that treats its characters with respect and sincerity, and develops a fiercely loyal following only to become a forgettable inclusion due to audiences being berated so much with absolute shit that they've grown detached from what quality looks like. Then again, to play devil's advocate, it has every chance to go the opposite way as well, and prove to be another colossal failure for the MCU where it leans too far into the goofy comical elements that look far better on a page than on screen, and ultimately fail to capture the concerning reality of a situation like a worldwide infiltration and integration of another species looking to incite a war with the inhabitants of that world by pitting them up against each other. I feel that based solely off what I recall of the comic iterations of the story and how the series has been presented so far, it stripped away all the flashy, campy, asinine aspects that has comprised much of the MCU's latest inclusions, but instead has opted for a grounded, realist approach to a rather ludicrous concept. And I can only say that as of right now, this could be the step in the right direction Marvel needs, assuming they remember how to stick the landing. We have to consider as well that Samuel L. Jackson is an aging actor who has led this role for over 10 years now, and given his ability to carry himself in more aggressive roles when the clock approaches that final hour, I have no doubt that he'll carry this shit alone before we even get to Olivia Colman and Ben Mendelsohn. I want to remain optimistic about this one and pray that it's Marvel's response to Andor and that it can invoke something new to a stale universe of storytelling, and possibly draw out a new path for some of our characters that maybe brings something captivating back to audiences around the globe. I've said a few times now when discussing the MCU that I want it to return to that golden age where the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Infinity War and Endgame, to name a few, were all the rage and delivered unquestionably some of the greatest adaptations of popular events to screen, and more importantly, entertained us. Ultimately, only time will tell, and until then, let's hope that Guardians gives back for what we've had to endure till now, and that this could be a nice follow-up. Anyway, that's all I've got for this one. If you did enjoy this, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to catch my reviews for the Secret Invasion series, and until June everyone, take care, and I'll catch you later.